It's art shoot time with your host, Mrs. Lair.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mrs. Lair, your host of Art Shoe Time. This week we are still working on jars. Last week we drew our jars. This week we are going to explore more, and we are going to start by reading this story in a jar, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to do next. So stay with me for this story. In a Jar by Deborah Marcero. Llewellyn was a collector. He collected things in jars. When he held a jar and peered inside, Llewellyn remembered all the wonderful things he had seen and done. He collected small ordinary things, like buttercups, feathers, and heart-shaped stones. One night, the sunset painted the sky of the color of a tart cherry syrup. Llewellyn ventured down the shore with as many jars as he could carry. A little girl named Evelyn was there too. Llewellyn scooped that cherry light into his jars, and when he was done, he gave one to Evelyn. Evelyn took the jar home, and to her surprise, it glowed through the night with the memory of the sunset. From then on, Llewellyn and Evelyn collected things together. They collected things hard to hold like rainbows, the sound of the ocean, and the wind just before the snow falls. They collected things you might not think would even fit in a jar, but somehow they did. They collected the wonders of winter. The newness of spring. And the long days and shadows of summer. Over time, their jars filled the walls of Llewellyn's house. But one day, Evelyn had sad news. Her family was moving to a new town. Too soon, it was time to say goodbye. With Evelyn gone, Llewellyn's heart felt like an empty jar. One night, Llewellyn lay awake. Falling stars glittered against the dark sky. He wondered if Evelyn could see them too. That gave him an idea. Llewellyn tiptoed out into the moonless night and collected the meteor shower in the jar. The next day, he prepared a package. When the box arrived, Evelyn opened the jar. The stars in the night sky fell around her. Evelyn knew just what to do. She collected the sounds, the crowds, and the bright night lights of her new home, and then sent them all to Llewellyn. And so, when the golden leaves of autumn began to fall once again, Llewellyn set out to collect a jar full for Evelyn. A little boy named Max was there too. Luckily, Llewellyn had brought an extra jar. Friendship is magic. I hope you enjoyed that story. And now I wanted to show you really quickly what we are going to be working on. Your question for this week is, what wonders will you capture in your jar? I have some ideas here just to get you thinking. Something to share, emotions, memories, holidays, seasons, imagination, something special, science, friendship, family, culture, celebrations, magic, creativity, curiosity, and secrets. Those are just some wonders you might share in a jar. In the story, it talks about winter wonders, and I am fascinated by winter. It's special for me because I was born in January on a snowy day here in Colorado. So I've always loved winter, and my family is Norwegian. So my ancestors, my grandparents came from the north where there were northern lights. So I'm fascinated by northern lights and winter. So I captured the northern lights in my jar, along with kind of a wintry scene with snow and evergreen trees kind of blowing in the wind with the northern lights above. I also, in the background, drew some snowflakes and kind of a purple sky to kind of match the winter northern lights. And I even continued my shadow work and my highlights on my jar. And again, you could see from last week my progression because I have it 3D with that circle on the bottom. So that's what I created. One trick I want to show you guys that will make your jars and whatever you draw inside your jars kind of look realistic is to leave a small space. Do you see the tree right here? How there's a small space? That's the glass. And as you know, jars are actually kind of thick to hold liquid. And so when you look in a jar, the liquid doesn't go all the way to the end. Now, this is just a trick. So if you didn't do this already or you don't want to do it, that's fine. I'm just showing you one little artist trick. Notice I put the highlights, a couple of the jar details here, the line work, just to make it look realistic. Some people this week drew open jars. Some did jars closed. Some did things leaking out of the jars. I think it would be kind of cool to have the northern lights maybe leaking out. I don't know, just something to think about. One thing you could do for yours is, of course, do something 3D in a jar. What I might suggest is do some drawings and then put them in here somehow, maybe tape them or have them kind of pop up if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can be creative and solve your own problems of how you're going to display your 3D work inside of a jar. That might be kind of fun. So again, before you get started, what wonders will you capture in your jar? Think about what is special to you, what you want to hold in a jar, maybe something that you might want to send a friend, or maybe even just a photograph on email or something, somebody that you love, like a friend or family member or something too, just like the story. So enjoy this week. Answer this question with your art. I can't wait to see the wonders you put in your jar. What wonders will you capture in your jar? This week, draw your wonders inside of your jar. For a special challenge, maybe use a real jar and display your wonders in a 3D form. When you talk about your art on Seesaw, you might want to use this sentence frame. I captured in my jar. And for a bonus, you might want to say, one thing you might not know about my art is Have a great week.